the end of the day.
It's Mel.
And me. You wanna know
How we did it.
You wanna know how we do it. You wanna know
How we
we're
doing
doing
it.
Welcome to the Mel and Me podcast.
At the end of the day.
And we're back.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. You ready to do this?
I am.
Okay. Good. So we're gonna go ahead and do this then. So we are on episode 6 of Mel and Me, the podcast.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's right. So we're here. And I think this episode will be a good episode because it'll give you a chance to really I guess put your brilliance on display, if you will. We just gonna let it develop organically as we always do because nothing is scripted.
Right.
Because we feel comfortable in this thing. We can pull it off.
Yes.
So we're going to go ahead and do that. So last week we talked about, in episode 5, we talked about struggle and sacrifice.
Yeah.
Where we kind of talked about how everything was for us, coming up from the young ages and stuff, and how we clawed and scratched our way kind of to where we are now.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was a lot of that was based on the financial, aspect, which, in any relationship, I think, especially when you get married, a large part of that relationship is just that's just the financial piece.
Right. Yeah.
Because you always striving to reach that next level, right? Or at least you should be.
Yeah.
So, it kind of makes sense for us to kind of move into a discussion around domestic finance because, we don't accomplish any of the things that we are able to accomplish and getting through a lot of those tough times without some solid domestic financial management, which you pretty much headed up. So, hopefully this will be a chance for me to kind of sit back a little bit more and chill and let you do a lot more of the talking. Not that I don't, not that we don't do ample talking, each. But I guess I do tend to dominate a little bit because I try to drive, I guess.
Yeah.
Drive the
fine.
podcast. And that's
Piggyback.
cool with you.
Yeah, I'll piggyback.
That's cool with you, So, but that's cool though. So we're going to get into this. But first, we're going to kind of do our little tradition, which kind of becomes a little custom, and having a sip of our Moroccan tea, which we know we got some. And oh, look at what we got. We got official Mel and Me, the podcast mugs. Check that out. Ain't that nice?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our logo and everything. So we kind of doing it up now.
Love it.
So we can kind of enjoy pushing the brand a little bit, if you will,
This tea is so good.
as we sip our tea.
Yes.
Which again, we're not spilling too much tea.
Right.
At least we're trying not to. At this point, maybe it'll become beneficial to do so at another time.
Right.
Somebody give us enough money or something. We can get a sponsorship. Maybe we can spill some tea, or spill more tea, or spill some tea. But we ain't. We're not playing that game though. I mean, it's not about spilling tea.
We just here to provide,
share a little bit of information.
Exactly.
A little bit of our story and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe inspire and motivate some people, give them some insight.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe that's what it is. That's
Right.
what our goal is, and
That's it.
that's what we're gonna do.
Right.
We're not trying to turn this into nothing scandalous. There's enough
That's
there's
enough
enough
of that.
scandal out there.
Right.
So, but yeah, domestic finance, man. Your favorite and my favorite.
Yes.
Not necessarily my favorite. I'm just tripping. It's not my favorite at all, and that's why you kind
Yes.
of do everything.
Yes, it's my favorite.
But again, and as I mentioned in a previous episode, it's not that I can't do it. It's just that I think really it comes down to in a partnership, which at the end of the day, We have a partnership.
Right.
We're a partnership, business partnership, and we well recognize and accepted that from the very beginning.
Absolutely.
And so, you have to be cool in any business partnership with, figuring out who does what best, and then leverage those skills accordingly, right? That's efficient use and smart use of resources, right? So yeah.
I mean,
So
it's no different like with if we're saying like treating it like a business per se. Businesses have individuals that have roles. So you got the
Exactly.
president, CEO, VP, because each of them specialize in something and bring a different skill set into the business to help the business grow.
Exactly. And so, we just operate on that principle, man, and it served us well.
Yeah.
And I think, the way that I've always kind of viewed us and the way I've always kind of presented us in my conversations, with other people, and occasionally we do get into conversations with people about, about things like domestic finance and investing and, money and stuff like that, especially over the past years as we've, kind of grown into ourselves a little bit more. Those are discussions that I think more of us need to be willing to have, on a genuine level,
Yeah.
because I think we only get to those next levels by being, financially savvy,
Yeah.
and those types of things. So, and so, we have had, we get into occasionally, with discussions with other people about it. And I tend to present, and I've always kind of presented us in this manner. I always say that I kind of view you as a tactician and myself as more so a strategist. And when you think in terms of, gamesmanship and stuff like that, and just, sport
Right.
or whatever, or anything that involves, planning and coordination and stuff like that, you can always look at things from a tactical perspective, which is in the immediate sense, right?
Right.
The things that are closer, within reach, as opposed to strategy or long-term strategic type stuff,
Yeah.
right? So I'm the 20,000 foot guy,
Yes.
right? And you're the person that's in the mix,
Yeah.
down in the, in the dirt,
In the trenches.
making
if
in the
you
trenches, doing that warfare,
Right.
right?
Yes.
So that's you, and
Yeah.
so that's the way I kind of characterize us. And I think for us, I think it's worked quite well in setting some boundaries for us, and I think we're also very good about respecting those boundaries with each other.
Yeah. Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I agree because again, you did it the finances for a minute, but I think when we talked about it, each of us had a different approach on how we handled the finances. And again, looking at long-term goals and what it is we were trying to accomplish, that's when we made the decision that, it would be best for me to do it based on kind of how I handle finances and kind of what my mindset was. So I think it works. I mean, again, when it comes to big things, we do still have conversation about it. It's not like I just take the finances and, just run with it. I mean, there's conversations to be had, but I think just looking at it and taking on the role and the responsibility, number one, I think is very important because when you're talking about being in a relationship, or even if you're trying to be in a relationship, finances is a quick way for a relationship to go south. So I think it's important that that you have a conversation about that, which is something that we talked about earlier. And because I love working with money and background in banking, and I've just always been that way since I was young. I don't know why. I just always been fascinated with budgets and running numbers and all of that. So I was more than happy to take on that role.
So yeah, the thing is, I also think what lent itself to that situation was the fact that the fact that a lot of years we were maintaining two households too.
Oh,
And so
yes.
you had to be,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You had to manage stuff on a daily basis and get
Yes.
close to it, right?
Yes, that's
Because
true.
I was kind of away. And my
Yes.
thing was because we had that complex picture,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
Of managing two households and two sets of bills and stuff. And we
Yes, that's
really
very
had to make
important.
everything work.
Ooh, yes.
And then, some years daughter went to a private school, so we were having to pay tuition and stuff. And
Yeah.
it was just complicated.
Yes.
It made sense for you to be, and it's good that was the way it was, and so
Mm-hmm.
I could just kind of stand off and just kind of be like, hey, what's the big picture,
Right.
and then my mind is kind of wired for that anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more so I'm always thinking strategically and long term, and dissecting things from all different directions. So
Yeah.
I think each of us in each of those roles, I think it suits each of us well.
Yeah.
And
We're able to complement each other in that way.
exactly,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. So, I think us establishing that from the very beginning, and then, just rolling with that has worked.
Yes.
So, with that, we've definitely seen an evolution in our approach to domestic finance.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some factors that kind of play into that with anybody,
Mm-hmm.
but us as well. It's evolved over the years, and it's kind of been dictated by a few things. What types of things you think might have dictated us changing?
Well, the first would be just our income changing. Several factors, but first would be we had a change in income. We started out with obviously just the two of us. I came into the marriage not working.
Right.
Okay, so went from one income to two incomes. Then even when we had the two incomes, salary still fluctuated. So you had to take that into account. And then children.
Right.
That would definitely impact how you handle your domestic finances. And I just think also just with us getting older and maturing more and having a different outlook
Value system
in our value
changing.
system changes,
Right.
that all of that will impact how you handle your domestic finances.
Yeah, so it's not gonna. It doesn't necessarily need to remain static.
Oh no.
Like the same approaches and stuff. Sometimes
Even to
you
this
have to
day,
switch stuff up.
even to this very day, I still have to make changes. It depends on what the situation is. But with me, how I have always approached it is from what I call the 5D model.
Okay, now I ain't heard this.
Yeah, that's my mindset and
Okay,
what I
so
just go into.
where did it come from?
uh
5D model.
the
Did you
five.
learn that somewhere? Or?
No, it's just something that I created based
Okay,
on
so tell us about it,
based
because
on.
you ain't never told me this.
I know
The
it's just
5D model.
yeah, it's just something just what I do all the time.
Okay, so what?
And so, and this goes back to because I came into
See, this is a great thing about the Mel and Me podcast, Mel and Me the podcast, because we don't script this stuff. We just come in front of the world and we just let our conversation flow. And occasionally you get something like this dropped on you. Now, I've been married to this woman 31 years, and I have never heard her tell me something about the 5D model. I'm like, it sounds kind of raunchy to me, actually.
wait. I know. Wait a minute.
I don't know.
Well, everybody, man, go to the gutter. It's not. Listen.
So tell
Okay,
us
so
about
my
the-
approach is this with the 5D model, and then it goes back to because I came into the marriage with the 13 credit cards, like I said before. So that was obviously a lot of debt coming into the marriage. So my mindset is always, how can I first decrease the debt? Okay. The second D is going to be to determine my mindset. I have to have the right mindset to be able to focus on decreasing the debt. Then I'm like, okay, once I developed my mindset, now I have to develop a detailed plan. How am I going to execute trying to decrease this debt? What's the plan? What it's going to look like? How am I going to how long do I want to pay it off? How am I going to structure that? And then once I develop the detailed plan, I have to be determined to follow the plan. Once I'm determined to follow the plan, I try not to get distracted from executing the plan. Because I think if by us taking that approach, that is what allowed me to be able to stay focused on the goal. If the goal is we got this debt, I want to have it paid off in a year, 2 years, You have to have a plan to be able to do that, because you can say you want to do whatever, but if you don't have something that's really concrete and laid out that you can look at and follow and be determined to follow it and execute it, then you can kind of stray away from it. So that's always been the mindset that I have taken when it comes to us, making purchases and, having a debt. I had to take that approach when I came in because I had to get those 13 credit cards paid off.
Right.
So I had to develop a plan to do that.
Man, I've never heard this 5D thing.
Yeah.
I just know that, at times I've been like, it seemed like blah blah blah. It seemed like we just did this, and I would have thought we had more money sitting in savings or whatever. And you're like, well, we're doing this,
right?
And so and it's not that we were hurting. It's just that I think up until a certain amount of years ago, we've always been in the mindset of it's all about what you save.
Yeah.
Like how much you got in your savings account.
Yes.
That's what counts. But of course, as we've gotten older, we realize that having money in that savings account is actually kind of a bad thing. Outside of just having an emergency fund. Right? You need to have an emergency fund.
Right.
But other than that, you really shouldn't have your money sitting in the savings account. You really shouldn't.
You're not earning nothing on it.
Exactly. Unless you're saving up for a specific thing.
Right.
Just kind of like we are now. Say, for instance, we're getting ready to pay for this property.
Yes.
Right. Okay. We obviously have money sitting in a particular account. Right. That's going to pay for that. That's the only time you really should have money sitting in the savings account, other than your emergency fund that you can readily access. For an emergency.
Right.
They say 3 to 6 months, depending upon who you are, 6 to 12 months or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever your requirements are. But yeah. So, but I just never knew of that. But I just, like I said, just think back to times when I was still in that mindset, of not feeling comfortable unless I see a certain amount of money sitting in the savings account.
Yeah.
But knowing that you had committed to doing this or doing that. And so, that savings account is going to dwindle down sometime, and it's going to dwindle down by a hefty amount, depending upon what we're trying to knock out. If we're trying to pay off a car early,
right,
or whatever, then you have to just say, okay, yeah, that's why that $3,000 is gone, or whatever.
Exactly. But again, that's why I developed that 5D, because that go back to the plan. I had the plan out, and I do that to this day every single time. Like even with the purchase that we're going to do in South Africa, I had to sit and plan that out. I have to look at everything so I can look long term, because I don't want to have us in a situation to where now we either can't do something else that we wanted to do, or we don't have enough money, or whatever the case may be. So that's why I always like to put stuff out ahead and maybe look at it, and having that model that I go by has really worked out for me and for us and our household. And it's just something that I would suggest if you're having difficulties with trying to determine, okay, how can I execute getting this bill or bills paid off, whatever the debt may be, is to maybe try to come up with some model that may work best for you to be able to accomplish that.
Yeah, and I think back to what I was describing a little while ago. I kind of referred to it as feeling the sting. Feeling the sting of things. And I would think, if you're feeling the sting, that means what you're doing is working.
Right.
If you're feeling the sting and you implement those 5 Ds, which I don't even remember what they are at this point. I don't know.
Decrease debt.
Okay, so we decrease that.
And then you have to develop the mindset. And then you have to do a detailed plan. And then you want to be determined to execute the plan, and then not to get distracted.
Not to get that. Is that 6
no,
or 5?
It's 5.
Okay, I counted wrong.
Yeah.
So I actually had another one in there, which would be a 6th one, but I can't take and alter your little thing that you had. But I was thinking discipline.
Oh yeah,
right? Because that goes in there as well. A lot of that's rooted in discipline.
Exactly. Yeah, it could be developed mindsets / discipline. Yeah,
and that's essentially what it is. So that's it. So there you all go. There's your 5 Ds. So that she's a resource. So maybe we'll launch some type of business for you to assist people with domestic finances.
Stuff.
We'll get something going there. So stay tuned. We might kick something off like that.
Yes.
For Melanie, she's been doing it for many years with different people that we know. You'd be surprised the number of people that she's worked with over the years to help develop budgets and stuff, and get themselves on a better footing. She scared a few people away too, because I've
Yeah.
had some people I've met that thought they wanted to get with her
Until I broke them numbers down.
until she had them to provide
The
her their
information.
numbers and stuff. And again, she's not a licensed financial planner
Not
and
at
that
all.
kind of stuff. She just works with people on the side. She's not, giving people investment advice. This
No.
is just domestic financial stuff. Handling your money within your own house to get yourself on a better foot. Managing your bills, making sure you get your priorities straight, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, when they provided her, when she started, soliciting them for the information, they clammed up.
Right.
Because they didn't want to really share with her in honesty. They wanted to help, but they didn't want to necessarily share the information that they would need to share with her in order for her to truly help them get to where it is they say they were trying to get. So this isn't something to play around with. If you truly want to do something like that, and you link up with somebody who has the capability to not only to guide you in that direction, but they themselves are an example, right? A living example of what it is that they're teaching you or showing you, then you have to be serious about that, and you have to be willing to step up to the plate and just operate on the level, right? And there have been some people out there that I know that I've come across. I said to her, man, and she didn't hear from them again after about a couple of conversations with them because they didn't.
And I get it. I mean, I definitely understand being reluctant to provide personal information to someone that you may know or don't know at all. Can barely know me or not even know me at all. So I definitely understand that. But again, if you're in a position where you have tried many different methods to try to get yourself out of debt and it has not been working, and you want to look for different opportunities to get a different perspective, then it's just about, okay, I understand I don't know this person and I do have to provide some personal information. Obviously it's going to be because like I told the other individual, I can't give you an accurate assessment if you're not providing all of your liabilities to me. We need to see what you're bringing in and what's going out. And if I don't have all of that, then I can't give you a true picture on how you can get yourself out of debt. So, I just want to, put that out there that, definitely understand that. But if, want a different perspective to see if it can help you, then that may be something that, I'll be looking at in the future today.
Yeah, and speaking of debt, there's something that I heard some years ago, back when, and I think it's when we were going to that particular church where we lived down in Jacksonville, and I forget what it was, but somebody stood in front of me and they said something that stuck with me, and it's been with me ever since. They made the statement. They said, don't just pay your bills. They said, honor your debt.
I do remember that.
I can't remember if that was Brother Bill or
I do. I can't
like
remember
that.
it, but I do remember that.
Yeah, he said, don't just pay your bills, honor your debt. And that to me was probably one of the more powerful things that I've ever heard. Because as soon as he said it, it made total sense to me.
Yeah.
Right? There's one thing about just saying, okay, I went out and I spent this money, or I created this liability for myself, right? I got to pay this bill, and that's the attitude that a lot of times we take when we go out and we create debt for whatever reason. We go spend the money,
right?
And then we willingly spend the money,
but when it's time
but we
to pay,
reluctantly repay the debt.
Right.
Right.
And so then some people have an attitude when it's time to pay.
Yeah.
But you use the card to pay.
I kind of made that a part of one of my stand-up routines. I have a piece that I talk about in regards to that. But that's a human dynamic, and that's how it is with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And we lose perspective. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. We went and we spent the money. We accumulated the debt.
Right.
It's like somebody did you a favor by extending you, whether it be credit or whatever, and you committed yourself, you obligated yourself to it. So hold up your end of the bargain.
Right.
Right.
Pay it back.
So you can't take a funky attitude when it's time for you to resolve that debt, and clear that debt. So that's where the whole concept of honor your debt really hit home with me. It's like, and that's one thing that I can honestly say over the years, we have always taken the approach of honoring our debt.
Yep.
Because I got to tell you, There have been many times that I've just been totally thankful, and I spoke to it on the previous episode, how we had things that we needed to do, and when we needed that money, I
Was
mean,
able
it's
to
like
get
they
it
fell all over themselves to give it to us, right?
in less than a minute.
Exactly. I mean, even, recently,
Yep.
you have people, I had someone tell me, it's like, oh, I thought that I was gonna, I should have really listed additional assets. And they were like, well, we don't need that. We don't need any more. You're good, right? And so, but that goes back to honoring your debt. People,
Right.
there's a picture that you paint about yourself in the way that you manage your debt.
Right.
And that's no kidding.
Because financial institutions will look at if you honor your debt or not, because then it will be if you look at you if you're trustworthy or not.
Right.
And that's why all of that stuff comes into play. That's why if you find yourself to where you're not able to, if you're applying for a loan, get one quickly, or you're paying a higher interest rate, those things will come into play on if you honor your debt or not, because unfortunately that's when they're going to give you a higher interest rate, because at that point they feel you may be more of a liability. So that's very important to remember.
And honoring your debt, I mean, the way that it has looked for us has been not only just paying for things with gratitude and not, being angry about making the payments, or not allowing our priorities to slip and say, yeah, I know I owe this money here, but, I'm going to do this. You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
this makes me feel good. Oh, they'll get their money when they get it, right? But what honoring our debt has looked like to us, and most times, let's just look at cars.
I try to get them paid off. We try to get them paid off quickly.
We don't have any car payments right now.
Yeah.
And until last year when I had a car payment again, like I talked about in another episode, I went and bought a car because my son got stranded at school one day last year in his senior year due to one of her medical appointments, unexpected. And so we were on one car. We had been on one car when I sold my vehicle. During COVID, I had a new car that just sat, and when they changed the working model and we were all working from home,
Right.
Just didn't have a need for that second car. It was
Right.
sitting in the garage
Collecting
after
dust.
a while. And so, but eventually, after getting rid of it, after a while, we had a situation pop up where suddenly it made sense to have another car. But even still, when we bought that car, we had one car payment.
Right.
We immediately set in motion our plans to pay it off early.
That's always.
Always.
Anytime every car that we've had, well, I can't remember the first one back in the 90s, but I would say within the last maybe 4 cars, maybe we always start out, okay, we can always do a 5-year loan, but we are not going to take this out for 5 years.
Right.
It's going to be 2 to 2.5 years. We're going to split that in half, and we're going to get that car paid off in 2 to 2.5 years at the max. We will never go out to 5 years.
And there's going to be stuff like, extra money come in, like bonuses and stuff.
Yeah.
Or, we get extra money, we pay those debts off. We snowball stuff. And it doesn't matter, what it has been. And we haven't had a lot of debt
Right.
over the years, not since the early years and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
we have, but we haven't. And we've had debt just like most
Yeah.
other people do.
Yeah.
Car payments,
Yeah.
mortgage, stuff like that.
Right.
But not like stuff like the jewelry accounts, department store accounts, jewelry, department store, what other kind of stuff? Furniture accounts.
Yeah,
They used to be
furniture.
big back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like furniture.
Yeah.
I mean,
We had
financing
those.
furniture.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
had
yeah,
those.
we had those.
Rooms to go, boy.
Yeah.
Our first couple houses, we were rooms to go down,
Woo,
man.
man, living
You
over there.
buy now and pay in 10 years or whatever.
Yes.
But even still, in those situations,
Pay those off.
we would pay those
Because
off
the interest
early.
rate was ridiculous.
Yeah, we would move to pay those off, and
Yes.
we're lump sum people.
Yes.
That's how we do. We drop lump sums on stuff, and get it knocked out.
Willing to make the sacrifice to not take a trip, or buy something that we may want right then and there if we want to get something paid off. And some people may not necessarily be willing to do that, i.e. if you're getting a bonus. If you get any money back from taxes, which I know some people do, some people don't. But if
That'd be
it right, outside of paying. But if you get money back from income taxes, and if you know that you have outstanding debt, you may want to take, if not all, some of your bonus or income tax to put that towards getting that debt paid off. That's how you get ahead. That's how you get ahead.
Folks let that money burn a hole in their pockets, and they have to go spend it on something.
Or go out buying expensive gym shoes and stuff like that. $450 for gym shoes or jewelry or purses or whatever. Now, if you don't have any outstanding debt and you just got free money, hey, great. But if you know you sitting on a couple credit cards that you have to pay off, and you have a car that you can pay off with a high interest rate, go ahead and try to pay that stuff off as soon as possible.
Yeah, because what you're doing is you're keeping that debt, and it's continuing to accumulate. You got this little material item that's going to make you feel good for, a few weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
And then its luster is going to wear off, and then you're back to square one. Now you got this depreciating asset,
right?
And whatever it is that you bought, and you still got the debt.
But that's where it comes down to having the right mindset.
Right.
You have to have the right mindset. You have to be disciplined. And unfortunately, when it comes to money, a lot of times it's very hard to be disciplined. But that is going to be the key factor, because if you are not, and being consistent with being disciplined, it's a struggle. Trust me when I tell you, we are not sitting here saying that it is going to be easy, because it's not. But it comes down to, how bad do you want to not be in debt? I don't want to have a lot of debt.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
Now, right, and we'll just be straight up. The only debt that we have, is the mortgage on our house. That's it.
But it has taken us some years, dedication, commitment, and discipline to be able to get to this point.
Mm-hmm. That's it. No debt. So every dollar that come up in here, pretty much.
Yes. We
savings and investing.
Exactly. And then
we got our boy in college now,
we got that as well. But again, not only having a mindset, but a lot of times you have to make some transitions. And we live below our means.
Yeah. Yeah, that all ties into it. Living below your means, mindset, living below your means.
Yeah.
So think about, so in years when we get pay increase, we get budget, we do not change our lifestyle.
Not at all.
We stay where we are.
Yeah.
If anything, what's going to end up happening is you're going to take that increase, and it's going to get pushed into an investment. So
exactly. That gets pushed into an investment. Now, prior to, us, getting all of the other liabilities and stuff paid off, any bonuses, any raises, that went to what bill are we going to go ahead and tackle to get paid off? That's what we did. And now, when you get to the point where you pay those liabilities off and you really don't have anything that you have that's outstanding other than maybe a mortgage, or you're paying rent or something like that, then you can take and, have some play around money with that you can do something else with. But the first priority was to pay those bills down. And now we're in a position where we can say, okay, we can take and push bonuses or, pay increases toward investments and things like that. But prior to that, it was to pay off bills.
Yeah, because what you want to get to ultimately is you want to get to the point where those investments are basically funding your lifestyle.
Yes.
You're not taking your hard-earned money that you're going out there and you're laboring for every day. That you don't want that finance and the fancy watches and the vacations. You want those investments. And then to
follow up on that,
cash flow.
It's hard to really start putting money to investments if you still got a lot of liabilities that you're paying for.
Yeah.
You will never really get to being able to invest and to save and to have a nest egg if you still have a whole lot of liabilities that you have outstanding. So that's another thing to consider. Yeah.
So no debt, just the mortgage. That's it.
Oh, yes.
Empty nesters, and that just means just allows us to accomplish our goals a little bit quicker and stuff like that. And so and that's also what's put us in a position to purchase this second home in South Africa.
Yes.
Not having any debt on this side, other than a mortgage.
And it feels good too. To not have all the money going out the door to pay this credit card or this car note or a student loan.
Which thankful. So we want to give them shouts out to the Biden administration.
Because my loan was forgiven. Thank you. Yes.
Due to her public service.
Yes, thank you.
So I mean, we've been paying on those for how many years on now?
14 years I was
14
paying on
years.
mine. And I said I wasn't giving an extra dime. Not to that, I did not. I paid them the monthly payment only. I did. I'm going to be honest about that. I'm like, I cannot.
You still continue to pay them, though, through the period.
I did.
that
I never
during
stopped.
COVID,
Yep.
right?
I never stopped. I never stopped paying. I continued to pay, even though we know we was trying to, get everything figured out, with the loan forgiveness. And even though it was in forbearance and they put it on pause, no, I still go ahead and take the money. And I was, did it for 14 years. It was a 25-year repayment for the student loan. I was like,
more than honoring your debt, though.
Yes,
right?
it was 25 years. I said, but hey,
you continue to pay it, even though it was in forbearance. And
I paid
that's
every
that
month.
mindset, though, right?
Paid every month.
Thinking big picture and stuff like that, because we were hoping that it was going to go through, and fortunately, it did go through, and so hers was forgiven, and so that was another thing, and so that was right on time, and so. We don't have any student loans between the two of us. I paid mine off when I went back to school and finished my little degree in 2010. I had some private loans and stuff that I took going to one of these for-profit online universities to get my degree. But again, same thing. When I started seeing those different loans that I had, once I graduated and got the little piece of paper or whatever. I was like, I didn't have 5,000 here, 4,000. I was like, let's figure out how to trade it. And I don't remember what happened. I just remember dumping it in your lap, as always. And
I came up with the detailed plan.
And we knocked it on out.
And paid it off.
And so I paid off my student loans. It was probably about $20,000 it came to, a little less than $20,000.
Yeah.
Back starting about 2010 or something.
Yeah.
We got mine knocked out in a couple years or so.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know how we did it. She did it. She probably had that hidden account you were tapping into. We talked about in the last.
No, I just come up with the detailed plan.
You got a hidden account.
I don't have no hidden account.
I don't know about.
I don't have no hidden account. Just come up with the detailed plan. You got to look at what you're bringing in and what's going out, know, and then you structure it, from there, which is what I have, what I do to this day.
Yeah, so we talked about this in the last one of the previous episodes. Joint or separate or joint. Talked about having accounts and stuff, and how sometimes women like to have secret bank accounts that their man doesn't know about.
Stash money in there.
Stash money into it. That's probably how she paid it off.
Nah.
Anyway, so let's talk about our household expenses and some of the specifics about how you approach household expenses, and I kind of break it down into a few different areas, and that would be things like food budgeting, our approach to bills and how we pay our bills and stuff like that, including like how we use our credit card and stuff like that. The one I think we have two now, maybe a second one that we just got for specifically for travel and stuff like that.
Right.
Credit card balances, those types of things. Budgeting for investing,
right?
That type of stuff. So let's just kind of talk about that. Let's talk about our food budget. Now, food for us is kind of it's been interesting over the years, especially now that we look at the fact that our boy is now in college.
Yeah.
And so that drastically changes our food bill and the food requirements in the house. And it's been interesting even having him here because of diet and stuff like that. And then we have, certain things like our health considerations and stuff that comes into play. Yeah. So that's big there.
My daughter with no dairy. So everybody has different requirements.
Yeah. So real quick though, before you get into it though, I want you to not only cover like the time that we're in now, but maybe if you can tie it back to how you have to think back a little bit about how you might have done things early on and how it might have evolved as opposed to now. I mean, I don't know. It's just floor is yours.
Okay. So with our expenses, yes, they have evolved over the years, over the decades. But what I will say is the approach again has been the same. Having to make adjustments, depending on what the situation is. So let's say with food budgeting, I always have a certain amount that I want to pay. Let's just say I'm going to say I want to spend $800 to $1,000 per month on the food. How am I able to do that? And so does that mean I'm going to particular stores, which I did. Now I started out, that took me going to 2 or 3 different stores to get groceries because I wanted to stay within that budget. That's what I did. 2 to 3 different stores. Then it was certain foods. Now we the type that some name brands we want to stick with, that we wasn't willing to change because we liked how it tastes. But then there were some that we were like, okay, we can go ahead and change. I can try something different, maybe a little bit less expensive to keep me within that budget. So I have always, even to this day, had a food budget of I want to spend this amount. I give it a range, and normally it'll be within a $200 to $300 difference. So if it's going to be 800 to 1,000, 500 to 700, whatever. But just to develop a range, that I want to spend on groceries, and I try to stay within it. Do I stay within it all the time? No, because obviously during COVID, groceries went up, was ridiculously expensive. So that means obviously you were paying more, getting the same amount of groceries, but you were paying more. But I do try to stick within that. And so I've been able to make adjustments with that. And then with the boy going to college and all now I was immediately, once I knew he was going to be, leaving, I automatically say, okay, I can now reduce the food budget down by half. Guess what? I've been able to stay within that budget ever since the boy has left college now. So that was real good. But that's one thing that I've always done. And I do that with all the bills. With the utilities, because even though utilities can vary, you pretty much know what they're going to be. Also, I got into, let's do the budget. Do like the budget plan. Once you're with your utilities, for about a year. Because my thing is, I want to know what I'm going to be paying every single month. That is what's going to allow me to be able to develop my plan and know that this is how much I know for a fact that's going to be going out every single month. So it's important to do that. And so I did that with the utilities. So I'm paying the same single amount every single month. So I do that, and I develop that, and I try to, stay, within that. We don't have to go over that, which is great. And I love that they do that because they wasn't doing that at first. So that's with the food budget. And then with credit cards, we only have one credit card. Well, we got 2 now. We just got another one so we can get the travel points. Yes.
We'll be traveling back and forth to South Africa.
Yeah.
Be able to accumulate a lot.
Exactly. But
it makes sense.
It makes sense. It makes sense to do that. But before that, we only had the one. And then how
many years we go with one credit card? How many years we've been with one credit card?
Probably about almost 10 years now.
Yeah, because every time I go into some place like Kohl's or another store, they'd be like, will we be paying for this with your Kohl's card or Macy's card? I'm like, no. Why do I need they were like, well, you can save such and such. Man, I got one credit card here. This is all I need.
We use that one credit card. Yeah. And then what I do is, like for the utilities, because again, I want to get the points. And now the banks have it with the points that you can get for the credit cards. You can go ahead and get cash back for it. They used to give it where you can get a gift card, but now they give you cash. So if I'm going to be spending on a card, let me go ahead and get extra money for it. So this is great. And so with the utilities, anyone who accepts a credit card, I pay it right on there. And then at the end of the month, I pay the credit card off in full. We carry no balance on the credit card. On the 30th day or the 31st day of the month, the credit card is paid in full. But like with the groceries, pay for it online, use the credit card, get those points. Utilities, automatically charge to the card, get the points. And then at the end of the month, though, you have to be ready and willing to pay it off if you're able to. Otherwise, you may not want to do that. I know that we can pay the balance off at the end of the month. That's why I choose to do that in addition to getting the points.
Right.
So,
and that doesn't matter if it's $3 or
$3,000. You got to drink the money.
$4 or $4,000.
Exactly, because
That
I've
balance
had
is
to
paid
transfer a
off
lot of money at the end
every
of the month to be able to cover all of that. But then I'm able to go ahead and cash in those points, and I just let those points build. And then if we want to, do something, nice or whatever, then I go and cash the points in, and then that's extra money that we can use to do whatever it is we want to do. But I've always felt that it's important to be able to kind of have a budget, because I need to know right off the cuff how much money is going out the door every single month, because that's going to allow me to be able to make adjustments. And the only thing that I've had to pretty much kind of consistently have to tweak a little bit is the food budget. That's just because of the cost of food, and depending on what it is we're getting. And we go to multiple stores. Some stores are, depending on, what you're getting, can be a little bit expensive, but that's the only thing that's kind of fluctuated. But I think that it's good, and it's worked for us to be able to have it laid out, kind of what our expenses are, how much is going out versus how much is coming in, because that allows us to be able to know how much we can save and how much we can invest, because you got to take care of your liabilities first in order to know what type of surplus you're going to have left. And so that's something that I do all the time, and I'm going to continue to do it because it works for us, even though we don't really have any liabilities right now with our utilities. And then that's another thing. I make sure that I pay stuff pretty much at the beginning of the month. Therefore, I don't have to worry about it. Therefore, it's not late. So it's those type of things. I just believe in just kind of having like structure, with it, and just being consistent with paying the stuff and sticking to the budget that I've outlined, that I've created, as far as our liabilities and what we have. So I touched on pay raise. We touched on pay raises and bonuses. With the pay raises and bonuses, when we get those for the past several years, those will go to, if we want to pay off the car.
Yeah, because we've taken we've
We
used that to
paid
pay
off.
off
We'll pay off a car, or if we had other expenses, to come up. If we had stuff we had to get done in the house. Sometimes it was work that had to be done on the car. All of that I don't take into account with the monthly budget. So anything over what our liabilities are counts as extra. And so therefore, if we have the bonus coming in, and let's say we want to pay the car off, and let's just say if it was $10,000 or whatever, then we can take and do that, because now that'll be extra money versus us just going to spend it on whatever. Let's just go ahead and get rid of this, because in how we operate is, why have that monthly payment that we're paying every single month? If you can go ahead, let's say your car payment is $250, but
They
yet
don't have $250 car payments.
I'm just
anymore.
saying, if it's $253, well, these days I guess the minimum is $700,
Right.
$500 or $700, and let's say you got about 5 years left on your loan, but you're getting a mortgage. Not a mortgage, but a bonus. You can go ahead, pay that off. Now you got that $700 coming back into your household that you can go ahead and do something else with. That's how we operate. You're paying the insurance plus the monthly payment on it. And you got to keep gas in it too. That's a lot. That $700 can go to something else. So how quickly can I get this paid off? And then too, you're looking at what your interest rate is on the car. So you're really going to be paying more. So it would behoove you to go ahead and get it paid off quickly. So that's always been our approach with it. And again, we only have the one credit card. We don't believe in having a lot of credit cards. Why?
Don't need it. If you have a credit card with a high enough balance,
right?
I'm not a high enough balance, a credit limit.
A credit limit.
You have a high enough credit limit.
Right.
Why do you need,
at every store except Visa, MasterCard. Yeah. So if you got one Visa or one MasterCard,
and say it has a $30,000 credit limit on it, you
everybody
don't need a department store card where you're paying 24%,
30% interest rate
through Macy's or something like that. When you go to buy, so that doesn't make good financial sense.
No, it doesn't at all. So again, our approach has always been, how quickly can we decrease our debt so that we can focus on investments, because that's going to be money that's being made for us as we go into retirement, is we can leave stuff for our children.
That's the only way you're going to build wealth is through
Yeah.
investing. You'll
Yeah.
never build or generate wealth saving your money. The system is not built that way, and that's something that I'm glad that we have come to accept over the past years. That we've gotten that ingrained into our heads as far as that goes. Because just saving money, you'll never get ahead saving money, because the money's losing value.
Yeah, it is.
As long as it's because of inflation, right?
Yeah.
I do want to go back to something real quick in thinking about food budget. I want to go back to when we had a personal chef. A few years ago, we had a personal chef.
Yes.
We brought on a personal chef because we thought it made sense for us, especially given the fact that that Melanie was going through significant health struggles at the time, and she just could not be in the kitchen. So for really almost 2 years, we had a personal chef that we employed.
Yeah.
Did a party for us here at our home, the housewarming party, and Melanie's birthday, and then my daughter's subsequent birthday. And she was just so awesome.
Yeah.
When I found her, she ended up staying with us almost a good year and a half, almost 2 years. And I think it was worth it.
It was.
Especially with the value that she was able to provide, along with the good food. We can't afford her now, by the way.
Right.
She know who she is.
Yeah.
She's the executive chef at the Fox Theater now here in Atlanta. And so if you happen to see this, thank you again.
Yes.
And it was a joy
And
having
the food
her.
was delicious.
Yeah, it was a joy having her here with us, and to see her doing what she achieving and reaching the level that she has now as an executive chef at the Fox Theater has just been awesome. I would shout out her name, but she knows who she is.
But that was calculated into the budget.
Right, absolutely, and that was my point.
I calculated that into the budget.
We looked at
Yeah.
how much money we spent.
Exactly.
And that also drove the menus that she
Yes.
created for us.
Yes.
Right?
Because we said this is how much we want to spend. This is how much we're going to allocate. And because she would develop the meal plan, and she actually went to the grocery store, got the groceries and everything.
Did
It
all
was
of that.
absolutely great. Cooked it the whole nine. But I calculated, for that, So again, it just goes back to making sure that you're looking at everything, you're capturing everything, and then you're looking ahead. Can we afford this? How long can we afford it? And another thing that I do as well is I plan a couple years out. So depending on what the expense is and what it is we're trying to do, like I say when we was talking about the car payments, if I know that we're going to do a 5-year loan, automatically 2 to 2.5 years, we're going to go ahead and pay this off. Okay, again, if we're going to be, getting property, if it's buying land or whatever the case may be, if it's another property here, then I'm already going to be looking how soon can we realistically pay this off, because I don't want to have this long term. So I'm always thinking at least anywhere from 5 to 7 years, depending on the amount of the debt that we may be taking on, how quickly can we get it paid off. So I think that's important to as well, and that's something that I always do is to look anywhere from 2, 5, and 7 years ahead.
So for budgeting for investing, because the way that I see it from my vantage point, I just always know that if I have something that I want to invest in, and I know we've kind of altered our investment strategy a little bit in certain areas because of the fact that we were pursuing this property purchase in South Africa.
Right.
We knew that was going to be a cash purchase, and we were going to have to have so much money that we can put into that, right? And so that and that's an investment as well.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I mean,
absolutely.
really, I guess it's just a diversion. We just diverted the funds.
Right.
But what I was getting ready to say was, I just know that when I do want to put us into a particular investment, that I just know that I'm going to go to, let's just say, our investment account, and I'm going to, move money from there over to brokerage or whatever. Is there any? How do you determine how much money you allocate for us to invest in our budget now, or you just kind of like now we just kind of I don't know. I don't.
Well, but now that we got pretty much everything, paid off,
Mm-hmm.
then I can take pretty much my checks and just move that over, and that can say we can just go ahead and invest that. But before we had all of our liabilities paid off, then I would look at what was the surplus, what was left, and then I would take and split that between the different accounts, because I didn't put just everything into one. So I would split that up. So that would vary. That can vary from month to month because it depends on how much went out the previous month. But that's how I always do it. I always have to look at what's left over after the bills are paid. That's how I know how much we have to invest.
Okay, and really, I know we have, and we can talk about investing in another episode altogether. The specifics of that, I just know that I know that we've made some changes over about the past year, and I know that once we get past this transaction in South
Right.
Africa, then things will become clear again.
Right.
We can now look and say, okay, now that we got that property secured over there,
Exactly.
now here's what we're going to put here,
Right.
there, and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
The main thing, is that I know that the goal is to not just have money sitting in savings and,
Right.
and losing value. Because
Right. So the main thing now has been for the property in
Tied
Africa.
up.
So we want that to be able to pay for that outright. So a lot of funds have been diverted to go there. Like I said, once that's done and we've got that taken care of, then we go back to the drawing
look
table
at the
again.
more traditional type stuff.
Exactly. So again, you
and
always
rework
have
the
to
budget.
assess. Yes, reworking. You always have to go and assess. Once you make changes, especially major changes, I would recommend you always go back to reassess and look again and tweak. Because you're going to always need to do that again. What works for us may not work for you. We always want to make sure that we state that, but we just providing a different perspective, some advice that maybe you could potentially try to see if it's something that could be beneficial in your household.
Right. Cool, man. I think we just kind of just zipped through all that kind of stuff, man. It went a lot faster than I thought it might. I know we didn't cover all the stuff that we probably could. We could probably drill down into any one of these
Yeah.
topics a little bit more to be more specific.
Yeah, and we can do that in future episodes to kind of break it out
Yeah.
a little bit further. We just wanted to give a high level kind of overview on kind of how we do things in our household and what has allowed us to be able to be almost debt free, if you will, because we still have a mortgage, so we're not completely debt free, but almost debt free,
Right.
and so to me that's a good feeling, and it's been a journey.
And that's key because right now I guess we would be considered to be in our prime earning years. We're about to go over that hill, I guess. I would have thought it would have happened a little bit earlier,
Right.
but
But again,
know,
you have setbacks. Well, I don't know necessarily want to say setbacks, but if you have unforeseen, circumstances, to come up, because maybe, when you initially start, like we initially started, oh, okay, yeah, we may almost be debt free during this time frame, but then it's okay. Now we're gonna help daughter with the car, oh, the school tuition, oh, to help this, so volleyball, so
The
it's
expense
been
of that.
stuff that's been a lot of money,
Yeah.
to come up, and again, even with the boy now. We was not anticipating
Right.
having to pay all that for the boy. Now we
Right.
got to pay that for him. So, it's just like, oh, okay. So automatically, I'm automatic immediately like, okay, I know that we're going to be responsible for this for the next 4 or 5 years. I'm right back at the drawing
even
board.
with the scholarships that he has.
Yes. Yeah, so we still have to pay room and board
expensive.
and food. That's they want their money, and so we now have to account for that. So that means I had to go back, and assess, our finances. Look, okay, so now I have to now add this expense in. What is that going to look like? How is it going to impact everything else that we're trying to do? So again, assessing, always assessing.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so that's kind of a wrap for this one. It's been a nice nice little coverage of the topic, and so we're gonna keep going with these episodes.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep going. We gotta try to keep coming up with subject. Hopefully, we'll get to a point where like I said, we get enough subscribers on our YouTube channel, and we can we can do a live stream
We're
or something like
almost
that.
there. When I
Yeah,
last
so
checked, we only needed 7 more
to get to 50,
subscribers.
to get to
Yes.
50. So, you know, we'll take and make sure we get everything together technologically and you know, so we can do a live stream and everything because, you know, we do everything ourselves, so we don't
Right.
have anybody behind the
We
computer
have no
kind of
crew.
managing the
We the crew.
podcast and everything. So
We the crew.
we're gonna have to get everything worked out before we actually do a live stream.
Mm-hmm.
But the great thing about that is you can interact with people real time and stuff. We can pull other people in on the podcast. We actually have plans on doing that to include some other people on the podcast,
Yeah.
have guests and stuff like that. I got a roster of people identified.
Yeah.
It
To
may
have
be
even
you.
more perspectives.
Yeah, different perspectives. You know,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be couples or individuals or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's gonna happen. But you know,
Yeah.
we want to invite you to like, share, subscribe, comment,
Yeah. Yeah.
do all of that kind of stuff. Help us out. Help us
Yeah.
grow the podcast. You know, so that we can continue to bring what I think to be some good content.
Yeah.
You know, it's fun for us. It's a nice way for us to spend some evenings, spend an hour together. Not that
Yeah.
we don't spend enough time already together. You know, but we can sit here and sip our tea from our Melon Meter podcast cups.
Yes. Oh, my hair feels so good.
I like this cup.
Yeah,
It's
me
nice.
too.
I like the logo and everything. It's a nice logo.
The dog over here sleep.
Yeah.
He calm now.
So so next episode
Yeah, what
we're
we
gonna
talking
we're
about?
gonna talk about we're gonna talk about something that you don't participate in. And I participate in it with a specific purpose. And the topic of the next episode is going to be social media or nah.
Nah. Nah.
Social media or nah.
Mm-mm.
We're going to talk about social media and how that plays into our relationship
Oof.
or doesn't play into our relationship when it comes to her.
Mm-mm.
So we'll talk about the whys behind that and how I use it for the most part, and you know how even though she's not on it, she's essentially on social media now as part of Melon Meter podcast.
That's the extent of
So,
it.
but anyway, so we're just gonna talk about social media, man, and
Yeah.
maybe she'll get a chance to learn a little something from me
Yeah,
about it because she
yeah.
doesn't do it, and I just kind of give my thoughts on social media and my observations and how. Man, my stomach is like growling. That's from the tea. I'm gonna have to go down here and eat. I don't know if the mic picked it up. It was like, but so I'm just gonna talk about that a little bit, man. So hopefully we can wring an hour out of that episode.
Hey,
You know.
I don't know, because
I
I
might
mean,
make some folks mad, I guess, though. But hopefully I won't. I'll just be giving my honest perspective
social
of it.
media, that's the thing now.
Social
I mean,
media is
so
crazy, man.
It's just so
crazy, and we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk
Yeah.
about it next episode.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up, and I'm gonna find some way to get myself something to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Finish up this tea.
Yeah.
But you know, as we like to say, at the end of the day, it's
Male.
and me. And this has been
The podcast.
Y'all take it easy.
Holla.
Holla again. All right.
Holla, holla.
All right. Later.